Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all well. Today we're doing another nervous guide video. There's a few of these coming up. There's the whole thing that I do on this channel, which is not normally how I get into this conversation, but let's just do it anyway. Normally when I go and see a show, I like to do two separate videos on said show. The first one being this one. This is the nervous guide. The nervous guide is everything you need to know before heading to the show. So things about the theatre if it's not one I've been to before, my seat view, any content and sensory warnings, anything you may need to be aware of before entering the theatre space. The second video is the one that will come next, which is the review. The review is usually in inverted commas because I am in no way professional. I just like to talk about the shows that I've seen, and yeah, that's basically that. So if you are okay with that notion, then we are going to do the nervous guide to Shucked, currently playing at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. So if you want to know all about this show, stick around and we'll get into it in 2 whole seconds. So yeah, let's just get into it, shall we? Shucked for me is a new experience. I didn't know anything about it going in, and so didn't know how to prepare in relation to the seats, etc. So as I mentioned, seats, let's start there. So for this show I saw it with 2 of my friends, and so it was kind of mix and mash where we were going to sit by the time we booked our tickets, what was still available. We last went to see something at the theatre space 2 years ago, I feel, for Legally Blonde. So we decided to go on a similar area to where we saw that show because we enjoyed the view, we enjoyed where we were, etc. Plus there was 3 seats waiting for us in one of these areas. Now I can't tell you where exactly we sat because I wasn't in charge of tickets and therefore don't have any information on the numbers, but we were sat in P in the raised seats. So if you've never been to the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre before, basically everything is outdoor. Probably should have said that before, but it's an open air theatre, so I hope you got that. And there is a small amount of seats towards the front, towards the stage, then there is a walkway through the middle, and then the rest are raised up. So we sat on, as you look at the stage, we were on the right hand side in row P, which was high up but not massively high up. I don't think even being at the top of the seating area is like too high. I think everywhere's got a good view, and the great thing about this space and the stage is that you can't miss anything. I don't really think there's a bad seat as such, apart from in the row in front of us there is a few with a safety rail, because you are coming through a tunnel and there's a safety rail so you don't fall on top of the tunnel, so to speak. It's not a tunnel, it's a walkway, but anyway, so yeah, I don't think there's a bad seat. I've never sat anywhere that I have had a bad experience at that theatre, and I have now visited it 5 times I think over the years. Technically 4.5, but we're going to call it 5. So yeah, decent seat as always. I will try and leave my view here, and if I do get a chance to ask my friend who had the tickets what exactly we were sat in, I will leave it underneath this video. But the seat was pretty decent. It is after all a plastic seat, so it's not the most comfortable, but it's actually cushioned, so it's not too bad. So I don't have any problems with the seat, and actually the leg room is usually pretty decent in those seats. The one thing to mention about where we were sat is, with I think 5 minutes before the show started, someone from the Regent's Park Open Air front of house team, try saying that quickly 5 times, came to like the bottom of our block, if you will, and said, ladies and gentlemen, you are sat in the sunniest spot right here, please make sure you've got water and you are keeping hydrated, because although when the show started it was relatively cloudy, the sun did keep bursting through. I actually ended up with sunburn, so yeah, it is something to be aware of. If you are sat for an afternoon performance and you are in the right hand side as you're looking to the stage, you may get quite warm. That's just the problem of live theatre. But as the lovely person from front house did shout up and let everyone know, I thought I'd let you know, because why not? So that is seat covered. Let's discuss the other things I normally discuss. Let's go for it. Let's talk about the toilets. Again, I have never had a problem at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre in regards to toilets. There is a decent amount. They are not outside, but they are outside. The best way to describe them is that they are still cubicles. There is plentiful amounts. I've never had to queue too long for the toilets at the Regent Park Open Air Theatre, but at the same time you kind of feel like any moment you could have a bug land on top of your head, because they're still based in the trees, and yeah, there is wildlife around there. They're clean, there's nothing to be worried about, but there is that kind of feel. So yeah, let's just leave it at that before I dig myself a hole and get banned from the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, because please don't. I want to return at least. I actually want to return this year. More on that another time. In regards to age restrictions and content and sensory warnings, let's get into those. Let's first do sensory warnings. I love when this happens. I have nothing to report sensory wise for me. My main problem was the aforementioned sun, which shone on my face and made me rather warm. Nothing to do with the production. There isn't any loud noises really. There is one moment where one of the characters tries to leave in a car and he walks off the stage. It seems like he's going to drive off. The trailer is left on the stage and there is two like key ignition, and then the third one happens and then there's like a, it's not a big, it's not an explosion, it's not nothing, it's not even particularly loud, but that is the only real thing off the top of my head I can think of sensory wise and loud noises wise. I feel like I should do this in every video and I hardly ever do, but I'm trying to get better. For me personally, my sensory things are loud noises, flashing lights, visible guns, gunfire, and sometimes violence, but it truly depends. So yeah, in relation to me, I can't off the top of my head think of any more warnings to give you content wise. I'm going to read what it says on Todaytix because it amused me when I read it earlier, which says, please note this production contains adult themes, moments of adult language and a harvest of corny innuendo. And boy does it. It also says on Todaytix that it is an age 8+ and that children under the age 4 will not be admitted. I'm grateful because, as I mentioned, there is some innuendo, there is some puns, there is some jokes, there is a lot of jokes. Some of them I mean I love all slightly innuendo-y, punny jokes, but some of the audience members around me I didn't feel were appropriate to be sat there listening to the jokes being made. They're not rude, but some of them I feel like if I was sat with like my mother for this show and I was at the age they were at, in fact the two people next to me were a mother and a child who was in year 9 going into year 10. If I was sat there watching that show with my mother at that age, I think I would have died of embarrassment, and I probably wouldn't actually got most of the jokes at that age I mean, it's a different time. I'm now in my 30s, and it's a different time between the time now and the time back then, which is making me feel really old by saying that sentence. But I don't know how I'd feel about having those jokes said with a younger audience. But that's a personal preference slash feeling. There's nothing too much there. Like I said, the jokes aren't rude, like mega rude, but there are some slightly dark ones. There was some slightly sexual jokes. It's just something to be aware of. But on the content and sensory side, this is such an easy video to make because there is not a lot to talk about and tell you about. So yay! This was actually my third show that I saw, no, hang on, fourth show that I saw on my London trip. And in fact, I think this is the first one that I'm coming out with the Nervous Guide and the review, because this show closes before all the rest that I saw, bar one, which is already closed, so I'm not actually doing a video on that. But long story short, there'll be a lot more London content coming over the next couple of weeks or so. But like I said, I wanted this one to go up first because it closes. But like I said, this one closes first, so it needs to be done first. Right, anyway, that is pretty much all I need to do for this Nervous Guide. Let me know if I missed anything. Obviously, slash maybe not obviously, I went to an afternoon performance, so if there is any flashing lights that I miss because they are more prevalent and obvious in evening performances, feel free to let me know in the comments down below, because the whole thing about it being open air is that the weather is different for every performance. The time of day you see this show might be different. I don't know. But yes, let's chat in the comments if you've seen the show. I would love for your help and assistance. But that is all I need to do today and for this video, apart from take this off because I'm so warm. But yes, all that's used to say is what I always say in the end, which is thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helped. If it does, then I am ecstatic. But all that's left to say now is what always happens, which is so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, and goodbye.